And thank you. You know, authorities have been providing some desperate details about Robin Williams' final moments. Reports reveal the Oscar winner hanged himself with a belt in his San Francisco Bay Area home. Marin County Sheriff's deputies said that Williams was last seen alive by his wife on Sunday night. There is no word on whether he left a suicide note, and toxicology reports aren't going to be out for at least another couple of weeks. But Williams' sudden and tragic death really brings to light his battle with depression. Benaye Rogers is the president of a group known as Contact Crisis Line, which is a lifeline often used by people battling depression. Good morning, Benaye.
Good morning.
I'm so glad you were able to come in because, first of all, we want to take a look at just how common this type of issue is among our friends and our viewers and people in our community. So the Centers for Disease Control reports that 1 in 10 adults suffer from depression, and you know this is so prevalent right now, right?
Absolutely, and it really is more commonplace than it has been previously. It's due to a lot of stress that people are under, and it's really due to the fact that we understand more about the disease than we did in previous years.
So on this newscast, we cover all sorts of tragic events.
Sure.
But we know that suicide now kills more Americans than car accident. That's according to some government reports.
Absolutely.
And so it's something that we really need to pay attention to.
Every 13.8 minutes in this country, somebody dies by suicide. That's over 100 people a day. And so we really need to understand that this issue of depression and suicide is much more significant than we talk about, and we really need to give more attention to it. So we're glad you're doing that this morning.
Now, here's the thing that we want to kind of glean from you. Sometimes when we reach out to people, we have the best of intentions,
Sure.
but we're not saying the right things.
Right. You know, I think one of the things that I've been asked recently is what do we avoid saying? And I think the top thing is dismissing people who are suffering with depression. You know, you don't want to tell them, oh, get over it. You can't possibly depress. What do you have to be depressed about? Just because maybe you are financially stable, maybe you have a good job. You know, depression really is a mental illness. It really is a physiological issue. And so we really need to understand if someone's saying they're depressed or showing symptoms of depression, it's really an opportunity to help them walk through the process.
Right, or someone, you know, another comment that you hear from people is, oh, can't you take something for that?
Right.
You know, can't you, fix that, work on that?
Well, first of all, not all medication is necessary for people who are suffering with depression, and not all medications work. And so there needs to be a number of different treatments that one might go through. And so just assuming they can take a pill to fix it doesn't necessarily always work.
Isn't it true also too that they might take something and it might work for a while and
right.
then not? So you have to, I mean, if you're really close in that person's life, understand that there might be some ebb and flow there.
Absolutely. They could be on a medication for years that suddenly doesn't work, or weeks. And so there's a lot of different things that you have to do to make sure you're supporting that person while they're going through the process.
Yeah, let's talk about so we know what not to do. We don't want
Right.
to dismiss it, and we don't want to disregard their personal situation. But what should we do if we want to kind of be there with them on that path?
The first thing I think for somebody who's suffering with depression is to let them know they are not alone and that they're not broken as a person. I think so often mental illnesses are stigmatized in this country, and we really need to let them know this is okay, they can seek treatment, and most importantly, walk with them through the process.
Now, if someone calls your crisis line, what sort of assistance do they get from you?
You know, the first thing that we're going to do when someone calls the crisis line is we're going to let them know that this is a safe place to talk about whatever their issue is. We aren't going to judge them, which is really important when you're working with someone who might be suffering depression. And we're really going to give them the opportunity to talk about what's going on with them, and then open them up to the idea of seeking help outside of the crisis line. That sometimes is enough, but they also may need ongoing treatment, and we want to point them in the right direction.
Benaye, I really appreciate your insight this morning, and I hope that we've, enlightened our viewers on some of this stuff as well.
I think so. Thank you so much.
And I want to give everybody the phone number that we're talking about, that crisis number. It's on your screen, and I'll read it to you as well. 972-233-2233. If you didn't get that, we have a link on our website, myfoxdfw.com. Again, thank you so much for the insight.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, still to come here on a